from 1964 in Calcutta and 1983 in Assam to 1987 in Uttar Pradesh, all the way to the Gujarat slaughter of Muslims in 2002, in which Narendra Modi, who is currently the Prime Minister of India, was accused of orchestrating the violence. People of Kashmir is also facing the same fate today.
We have Ms. Faatiha Aayat, who I think I can say this, as in her young age, she has done so much speaking on human rights, and we can all use some of Fatiha's enthusiasm and her passion for change. Faatiha, you have the floor.
My name is Faatiha Aayat. I am a 4th grader of NYC Department of Education, Gifted and Talented School, and I'm a child rights and climate activist. So now I'm going to begin my speech, and I really want, I'll tell you that in the end. So we all know about the pandemic called COVID-19. The whole world is rattled, but we are overlooking another pandemic. We are silently avoiding another epidemic, and that is Muslim killing, ethnic cleansing of Muslim minority, genocide and massacres of Muslims. Muslims around the world are persecuted, abused, and murdered, and that is increasing no less than a pandemic. So what is happening to Muslims around the globe? In China, they are put into concentration camps. In Myanmar, they are slaughtered. In India, they have been the targets of state oppressions. In Israel, they are moved down on a daily basis. In Europe and the United States, they are subject to increasing demonization and persecution. The fate of Muslims in their own homeland is not particularly happy either. From one end of the Muslim world to the next, Muslims in Iran, Syria, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia in particular live under tyrannical regimes, ruthless dictators, murderous military juntas, with their most basic civil liberties and human rights denied. In Yemen, they are being slaughtered and subjected to man-made famine by the Saudis and their partners. And if one person even dared to raise his voice, he is chopped up into pieces by his own country's consulate. So let's begin with China. UN has reported that more than 1 million Uyghurs are in counter-extremism centers, and at least 2 million Uyghurs are in re-education camps. China is accused of locking up hundreds of thousands of Muslims without trial in its western region of Xinjiang. But Muslim worlds are not reacting to the vicious atrocities of the Chinese authorities in their Muslim labor camps. Ethnic cleansing takes place in China, and nobody seems to be able to hear it. Then we come to India. The roots of Hindu violent mobs attacking Muslims in India is of course as old as British incitement of communal violence to sustain their own rule. The list of systematic Muslim massacres is gruesome. From 1964 in Calcutta and 1983 in Assam to 1987 in Uttar Pradesh, all the way to the Gujarat slaughter of Muslims in 2002, in which Narendra Modi, who is currently the Prime Minister of India, was accused of orchestrating the violence. People of Kashmir is also facing the same fate today. Now, let's look at Palestine. Muslim Palestinians have been the subject of systematic ethnic cleansing in their own homeland, now under the occupation of the European colonial enclave of Israel. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and other Zionist warlords have been practicing for decades in Palestine a plethora of genocide and massacre. And now we come to Myanmar. The massacre of Muslim-majority Rohingya in Myanmar under the watchful eyes of Nobel laureate Aung San Suu Kyi has horrified the world, but has been kept apace for years now. Since 2016, Muslim-majority Rohingya in Rakhine State have been the targets of Myanmar armed force and police, which have been accused of ethnic cleansing and genocide by the United Nations and International Criminal Court. So let's move to the other side of the globe. The historic xenophobia of the racist white supremacists in the US, the chief supporter of the Israeli settler colony, resulted in 2 major and many more US-led invasions of Muslim states in which hundreds of thousands of Muslims were slaughtered. The last president has unleashed the most hateful campaign of the terror and intimidation against Muslims in the United States. His infamous Muslim ban was the legal manifestation of this abusive treatment of Muslims. In Europe too, the historic hatred of Muslims rooted in their version of Christianity have now reached epidemic proportions among racist, xenophobic, and proto-fascist movements. Best evidence in the Brexit, but is still equally staged in the rest of Europe. In Australia too, the Prime Minister Scott Morrison just recognized West Jerusalem as Israel's capital. Anti-Muslim racists enjoy widespread support among xenophobic nationalists. He is in the good league of the notorious Australian MP, Pauline Hanson, who believes her country is about to be swamped by Muslims. But Muslim killing Muslims is not any less evident on the global scene. Saudi Arabia and its sidekick, the United Arab Emirates, or the UAE, have led a coalition of Muslim states to slaughter tens of thousands of Yemenis and drive millions more to starvation. Yes, the US and Europe are chiefly responsible for arming the Arab countries, but it is the Arabs who are pulling the trigger and firing the bombs. In Syria, it is first and foremost Bashar al-Assad who is responsible for the slaughter of hundreds of thousands of Syrians and driving the rest to refugee camps in and out of their devastated homeland. Turkey's war with Kurds amounts to even more Muslims murdering each other. In Egypt and Iran too, the ruling regimes have no worries in murdering their own citizens in prisons or even in the streets. No doubt in each and every one of these circumstances, one can come up with multiple and varied explanations as to what is happening to the Muslims. But the net result is the same. There is a pandemic of Muslim cleansing around the globe, what amounts to incremental and cumulative genocide. That pandemic needs urgent attention, perhaps even a UN-sponsored conference. There is a field of hatred and Islamophobia in which Muslims are seen as the enemy that must be neutralized, pacified, killed, and eradicated. I really want the world leaders to stop doing this and to stop torturing these Muslims so much. Thank you and assalamu alaikum.
Thank you so much, Faatiha, for that wonderful speech, for really sharing with us your thoughts and your ideas. I think we can all say that you are very, very passionate, and mashallah for that passion, and I pray that you continue to nurture that passion as you grow older. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. It's my honor.